All right, welcome back. This is day 5 of social media for Environmentalists, and I really want to say thank you to everybody who's been a big part of this week's success. Once again, we have recorded each of these day's videos, and you can access those on YouTube. I shared them yesterday, and I think I shared them via your follow-up email from each class. Yesterday we had some hands-on example work with South Shore, getting bikes on the South Shore, which I thought was a lot of fun. I actually reached out to Mary from Fiddlehead Restaurant. I was kind of hoping that I might be able to get her and see if we could do something with her fundraising for her restaurant, and we just have not been able to connect. So anyway, if anybody else has a practice thing for today, you can give me a shout out. Otherwise, I've got several things left that I intend to cover. And just like we did last week, I can also open up the mic, and I'd love to hear from you about what you learned, what was your favorite thing, what you plan to do, with the information that you've gotten. So I'll just kind of go round robin, but if anybody wants to step up and, give me a challenge that you'd like to work on or share something that you've learned from this week, that's great. Otherwise, I'm going to just kind of do some housekeeping and finish up with items still left. One idea that I wanted to put forth for you is QR code generator. We've talked about URLs, we've talked about hyperlinked text, and sometimes if you're at an event, let's say, and you want people to read the flyer about the petition, or you want people to be able to get to a survey or what have you. Do you guys know about QR codes? Have you ever used them yourselves? I don't want to spend a whole ton of time on it. Okay, Roseanne says never. All right. Basically, a QR code is a stand-in for, a hyperlinked text. Okay, so if you have a smartphone, you can download an app that's a QR scanner, and basically, this is a little bit more meaningful if I were to demo this with my smartphone, but what you would do is, let's say that I wanted to tell people about, hey, this video is at this particular URL. I would click the URL, copy it, and then go to, I don't have a particular QR generator, but I'd say most that I've found have been fine. They work just fine. What you do is you place your URL in here, and then it generates this code, and what you can do is just click download QR code, and you can place that graphic on a printed item. So, as environmentalists, we probably don't want to kill all kinds of trees, right? So if you don't want to have, 100 or several hundred copies of things that ultimately, it's a call to action. You want somebody to go to, a page where it's, either a survey or get more information or an online petition. This QR code could represent absolutely any URL. So you could download this QR code and, let's say, just put it on a sheet, and then when your attendees check in, or here's somebody that actually put it, right on a T-shirt. I know realtors have been talking about, using this more in interesting ways, putting it on signs outside of houses that are for sale, so people know in an instant, hey, here's how I can get more information and go get the stuff. You can put it on, a business card. You could really put it in a lot of places. So I just thought, that might be interesting for you. It just came to me last night that this is something that, I haven't really talked about in the classes. But Kobe is saying that she has used them at a conference booth. Tacy says yes, the kids use them at the National Park. And let's see, Nancy Moldenauer says she's familiar. Uptown Arts District in Michigan City uses these all the time on storefronts, monthly First Friday walks, special events. And Charlotte says she wants to put them on signs along the nature trail to provide nature info. So that's great. And Lisa said she's not used them. But, Lisa, okay, you're a chef, and maybe I don't know, I've seen some chefs like demo at farmers markets or whatever, or it could be anything at all. Again, just if you've got a sign, I'd say most times it's going to be more beneficial if you've got walk-by traffic in person. Yeah, Charlotte, okay, that's where I was kind of going with it. The recipes. If you wanted to have a recipe for your thing, okay, that's a great idea. I go to food swaps, and people often ask for recipes. That would be a really neat thing to put out displayed right alongside your food, like, help yourself to the recipe. So basically, if they click the recipe, you could put that recipe on your blog, and so then it's not like you're just giving them, the recipe in and of itself. You're giving them a doorway to your writing, where you get to talk about why that recipe or why, this, that, or the other thing. And so Charlotte's jumping. She said, hey, list of products for sale at farm stand. That's great. Sure, absolutely. Could be so many things. Again, I just like to introduce you to some ideas and show you the art of the possible, and hopefully you can kind of play with it, and we can just riff off of one another's idea. And then I have to say, I believe it was Lisa yesterday who brought up for me. Oh boy, I went and looked at it last night. Now I can't remember what it was called. Is it called Flipbook or Flipboard? Flipboard, I think it is, right? Yeah, Flipboard. Okay, I created an account on that last night. That's one of the reasons I'm running a little late. I was playing with it, and I thought it was quite fascinating. It's not even new, but I think because I had already identified another similar platform, I just hadn't really used it all that much, or I hadn't used it at all, frankly. But I will say this is a much more elegant solution than what I had been using. Let me just see if I can do this. Sign in. Let's sign in with Facebook. Okay, so the reason that this came up is, I think Lisa asked, is an RSS aggregator like Flipboard? And I really didn't know what Flipboard was, so I couldn't answer that quite exactly. It is. In some ways it is, but it's I'd say it's a lot more elegant looking. An RSS reader, I'd say, is really designed pretty much like for your consumption only. And I think what Flipboard seems to have done with that idea is it allows you to create, your own digital magazine based on topics that you identify of interest. And I didn't get quite far enough where I could figure out if you could follow just individual RSS feeds. I think that's what would kind of make this more what I would consider to be like an RSS aggregator. To me, it seems like a content aggregator by theme or topic. But the cool thing is you could design your own Flipboard with the purpose of sharing that content. So if you wanted to put together, let's say, an online magazine about wildflowers or about foraging or what did you call that, Lisa? There was you used a word, the very first, wild crafting. Okay, that was kind of a neat idea. So some of your stories could be your own blog post potentially, and partly it could be just things about, let's say a food forest, or I found permaculture was one topic. When I signed in through, I guess I signed in through Twitter, not Facebook, and I kind of did already set up a, oh yeah, this is my magazine. I can see now because I identified like consciousness, crowdsourcing, writing. These were kind of the topics that I said I wanted to follow. But this isn't, again, this isn't like specific blog, so I couldn't quite get into that, how I could pick up particular RSS feeds. So Charlotte's asking, how does this differ from a blog or newsletter? Well, the way that it differs is that it's not me doing the writing in this case. It's an aggregator that's just picking up content from all over the web, from different writers, different websites, and putting it together in one kind of digital magazine, okay? I was really curious, like, could you monetize this? How, how could this work for a marketing standpoint, beyond just gathering content for yourself? And I'll admit, overnight wasn't quite enough for me to go into it. But it did seem like there were publishing options and even the ability to add ads, where they would charge advertisers to be part of an online magazine. So that was kind of cool. And Charlotte says, kind of like Pinterest in a way. I would say yes, in that it looks like a, kind of a magazine format, but definitely more about the text, not so much the words. I would say the words are the primary, the content is primary. But yeah, I like how you're saying it's like this, it's like this. Kobe's throwing out there that it's like LinkedIn Pulse. And it's true. All of these things, I think, are a little bit similar, and they're probably, at the helm of their own organization saying, how are people starting to use LinkedIn? How are people starting to use Twitter? How are people starting to use, Pinterest? How can we put aspects of that together and spin it off to be a different thing? So I do like Flipboard. I think it's pretty cool. And I could see, if you don't have a lot of time to be a content developer, that being a curator and sharing your curated stories around a particular topic could be very interesting. The one that I had seen that was a little bit like this before is called Paper.li, and I had used that before. I had actually done this when I was doing the social media for Sustainable Indiana, and it was kind of just like a quick and easy aggregator slash content generator. So what you're doing is you create a paper for free, and you can sign in using, again, Twitter or Facebook. That's kind of the primary place it's going to be drawing content from. And you can say, hey, I want all the stories that come up from my, from my people around this particular hashtag or this particular, let's see if I can remember my darn password. Okay, there we go. So this particular, topic, whatever, it's kind of the same deal, but I think that it seems a little bit more homespun. Like you can get in there, and say, hey, give it to me for this, particular hashtag or just among my, my community. So every now and then on Twitter, I'll get a notification that, hey, you were quoted in a friend's, Paper.li edition. Let me just see if I can find one real quick. I think that happened as recently as yesterday, So basically, I'm on somebody else's aggregator feed list, and they're saying, hey, if Kathy says anything about social media, go ahead and, let's include her in, my edition. It seems to me like Amy Stark is one that does it all the time. Let's see if I can find her. All right. Well, here we go. Stark Reality Check is out. So she actually calls it something. She's got a title for her little paper, and she's an indie, or she used to be an indie. I think she's now in I want to say Fort Wayne. But neat lady. I don't think I'm in this particular episode, but it'll say stories via, and then the Twitter handles of the people that stories were pulled from. And so if you click on that, you get something that looks a little bit like Flipboard, but to me it's okay. I don't want to necessarily go there. Okay, here's her thing. So it's got its own title, Stark Reality Check, and if you want to subscribe to her updates around her topics, then you can do that. And again, the difference as far as I could see is that it's drawing from people that I'm more likely to know. They're kind of social media people in Indiana. All right, so if that's of interest for you, I just think it's a way that, like Tacey, if you're not doing the newsletter anymore for InPause, but you really want to kind of cover that topic, it's a way to cover a topic without nearly the muscle. You don't have to be writing everything. You could just be curating it and sharing with others, and then you could, some of the information could be yours. So it's a good way to get your own stuff spotlighted while, being a curator for a bigger topic. So Lisa says that she's been included in some of those group lists. It's interesting to be part of a digest. It is, yeah. I mean, it's kind of nice. You know, you feel like flattered that you were included. And Roseanne says she just created an account. Fascinating, 5 minutes, huge amounts of content. It's true. Yeah, and it widens your net for exposure. That's right. I mean, it's like being a published author, you know, and kind of being a part of a digest that's recognized, you know, around a topic, which is pretty cool. But Lisa says, but also a little odd to have that happen without consent. True, it is. But when you put it out there, you know, online, I think you're kind of giving tacit consent, you know, just because that's goes back to your original question yesterday of the RSS feed. Basically, any blog, any Twitter feed, you know, not something that's been marked private, obviously, but anything that's available to some visitor, you know, online, basically, that is streams with updated content, can have an RSS feed. Okay, so if anybody can pull in that feed, that's how you can end up being part of the digest. So yeah, that's why I do tell people, you know, be careful what you say out online, right? I mean, you do want to use, you know, be judicious, obviously. If you're doing it as a marketer, then, you know, it's out there. It's out there. Okay, so Lisa says, yes, we've gone from everything's political to everything's public. That's right. That's true. Okay, and Charlotte, you said that you shared with me a Facebook example, and I'm awfully sorry that I don't think I remember. Did you send that this morning by any chance? Let me just quickly check out my email. I thought I caught up with that recently. Let's just see here. Okay, Charlotte, if you wouldn't mind telling me again, that would be great. Eventbrite, I thought that was a question that we were going to cover during office hours. If you have something for me that you could share to prompt my memory, I'm really sorry, but I seem to have missed that. I know we talked about the, you know, the horse thing yesterday, but I think I might have missed it. So if you wouldn't mind finding that email for me and retyping, I'd really greatly appreciate it. So another, you know, kind of random thing that I wanted to mention, but I think it's worth doing. This is kind of like being an armchair activist, in my opinion. Don't forget your lowly email signature. Okay, it doesn't have to be MailChimp. It doesn't have to be anything. This is just my Gmail right here. And what I mean is, you know, you can put in best regards, or you can say peace or namaste or whatever the heck you want. Your name. You can, you know, put a link to your website. You can put your email, and that stuff is, I'd say, pretty standard. But you can also use the area right below that to add, you know, a bar of social icons to kind of let people know where you are. And then the space below that, I kind of change it up and, you know, put in there what it is that I want to promote, all right? And if you really are kind of crazy and wear a lot of hats like I do, I have a lot of different emails, and depending on who I'm sending as, let's see if I can find one. This is my social media coach. If I'm, you know, 219 Green Connect, I've actually got a different set of icons. Well, maybe it's Kathy at, there we go, Kathy at 219 Green Connect. Great. So there I've got like probably a different phone number. Click here to be added to our email distribution list. So this again is hyperlinked, and if somebody clicks there, then they're going to be added to the MailChimp email list. All right. Consider a one-time donation or pledge your ongoing support. These things actually go to a PayPal button, and then, you know, down below here, these little social icons aren't just buttons; they're actually linked. You know, we talked yesterday about how you can hyperlink an image to a URL, and each of these buttons is limited to the appropriate corresponding account where 219 Green Connect can be found. LinkedIn is me in every case, but you know, you could have a LinkedIn page if you wanted to. All right. So anyway, just think about ways that you can kind of broaden your circle with everyday activities. This is something that you do one time and you really don't have to do it again. So is everybody using that, or is this, is this worth a little bit further explanation? I don't want to like beat your head, beat this over your head if everyone's like, yep, I've done it, I know how to do that. Okay, I'm going to keep going then. Let me know if that needs further explanation. And then what else were we talking about? Well, I want to say events. I think that events are so important, and we really haven't talked about it very specifically. And so let me just kind of use green drinks as an example. Again, because I'm an admin on it and because they've given huge support, and a lot of you guys know about them. All right, and Kobe and Nancy are both on the call. Kobe is helping, she's helping Northwest Indiana Green Drinks in Valparaiso get relaunched after kind of a long absence, and their first meeting back again is on Monday. It looks like that could really use some help. Oh no. I kind of had asked if we could double team this and ask people to, to invite others, okay? I created the event, but kind of part of me passing the baton was, hey, you need to invite people to the event, because that's kind of the thing that takes a while. And I think you as host or hostess, as the case may be, okay, you did invite people. It looks like only four people are invited. So here's what I do. This is kind of recapping what we talked about in the past. If I just say show more friends, and I'm already on the Facebook event page, now this presupposes that you've created the Facebook event. I'll back up and show that for anybody who might not know. I think it was Monday or Tuesday we talked about tribe building and what the benefits are from listing people in groups or lists, friend list. So I can just go to, like local food might be a good one. Let's see. Where's green drinks? Should have one for green drinks. There we go. More. Here we go. Okay. So I can just do, I don't know that all of these are actually still good, but I'll go ahead and just do that. Send invites. So let's go ahead and do that. Refresh. Okay, so we went from 4 invites to 104 with one click, but that one click represents me creating a lot of relationships in advance and kind of having that connection. And again, I can only do that if I'm actually friends with those people. So, I'd say this is a good reason to befriend people at your events rather than just, hey, I come, I see them, and then, bye-bye. It depends, obviously, how you feel about how you want to use social media. I tend to be probably pretty open about that. I'm not going to say that's everybody that might possibly be invited, okay? But I think it makes a lot more sense for it to come from the person who's actually hosting the event rather than, an outside person. Okay, so let's see. Nancy, you said for more invites, and I'm not sure what you meant by that. If you could expand, that would be great. And Charlotte just invited me to an event. So here's what happens when you get invited to an event. You get a little notification in your feed on Facebook. And if I click on it, it will show, okay, actually this isn't a notification for an event, but for a page. Yes, okay, I did see that. I'll go ahead and give it a like. I really didn't get too much chance to totally get into that. So you were saying that this project utilized recycling, social values, and did not ask for money, yet raised awareness and had many likes. Okay. So I think I watched a quick video, and it was about a woman who is repurposing dolls and other toys and giving them new life. So yeah, let's just take a look at that. Charlotte, and so would you like to comment on this, or was there just something you found interesting? I guess, as far as environmentalism goes, it is repurposing. I think it's cool. I'm just, I guess, looking for things that are actionable, or models that we would want to emulate. And okay, so Charlotte's saying that the artist uses alcohol to remove the makeup from Bratz dolls. And again, this is where, like, I didn't have kids, so I've never even really seen a Bratz doll, but you can obviously tell that it looks much more natural and much more human than they did with these crazy, made up eyes. So yeah, I mean, I love the overall idea. I'm just not sure where to go with it from here. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to kind of keep going with the green drinks thing, but Charlotte, if I'm just missing something, or there's just something really special about it that you'd like to say, let me give you the mic. And okay, and Charlotte's just saying the idea that she got all these likes, she tapped into people's consciousness. Yeah, absolutely. So she says, these dolls have been rescued and rehabilitated from op shops and tip shops. That must be a Tasmanian thing. I don't really know what an op shop is. These little fashion dolls have opted for a tree change, swapping high-maintenance glitz and glamour for down-to-earth style. A hand repaint the dolls' faces, mold new shoes, and my mom sews and knits their clothing. My sisters and I grew up playing with second-hand dolls and homemade toys in the beautiful Tasmanian natural environment. I love the satisfaction of repairing and reusing discarded items to give them a new lease on life. Yeah, that's great. And if she doesn't even have her Etsy store open yet, it's opening February 15th, then she sure does have a lot of likes. If I was her social media coach, I think what I would do would be to make this a hyperlink. Right now there's no way for me to just simply follow her on Twitter. I'd probably put that Twitter icon and hyperlink it. Facebook, I'd probably put the Facebook icon, or at the very least make this a hyperlink. But hey, look at how much she's gotten without any help at all, right? And then, the Etsy store, certainly whenever it is open, I would put a big old hyperlink right there too, so that once you like it, you're excited about it, you could click on it and, find out how to buy a doll for your daughter or for your loved one. And then one other little thing, I mean, this is a small thing, but, contact me at, and then she's got her email. I got to tell you, I look this up every single darn time that I put this in a website. But basically, if you have a blog, let me just show you quickly how you can embed an email address, in a website. I probably should just bookmark this or put it somewhere, but I just look it up every single time. It's a little nutty. I do it somewhat frequently, not frequently enough to remember, but basically it's just easy to find for me. So what you can do is, instead of hyperlinking to an HTTP kind of thing, you can actually just put in the URL field mail to, and then put in your your email address. So here's kind of what it looks like when it's embedded in the middle of other text. Like, let's say you don't want to actually publish your email. You can say, we want to hear from you, and then send us an email. Send us the email is actually the text that would be hyperlinked, and this part right here is the part that would be the code that tells people how to get to your email. So I hope that's not totally lost on you guys, but I just think that's a much more elegant solution than just putting your email, which somebody then has to copy and paste into their own email account. If you do this, it's just one click and it's hyperlinked. So in case you don't have that already on your own website, again, I'm going to put that in the chat comments, and hopefully you'll remember why that's there. But again, it's just a little kind of maintenance thing, but it's I think a really good idea. You certainly may. Tacey would like to have the mic. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. trying to unmute you. I just sent you an audio pin, so please check your control panel, and you should be able to unmute yourself. It doesn't look like your phone is showing up as green yet, but once you do that, it should work. So Charlotte is saying, you know, or do your own makeover. She doesn't really want to sell, just wants to encourage recycling and better values. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I believe that's the overall purpose and value. I mean, you don't put that kind of effort into something without having that as a core belief. But, you know, she does say Etsy store coming soon, so, you know, these things have to go somewhere, right? And let me try that one more time, Tacey. Okay, just sent it again. Give that a go. And, you know, just kind of playing off of what we talked about yesterday, I would use one of these tabs, excuse me, on her Facebook page as an Etsy store. And let's see, well, I can't think if I know somebody else that's got an Etsy store doing it like that. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm sorry you're having trouble. Let me see if I can, let's see. All right. For some reason, yeah, your phone is just not showing up as green, so I'm not sure how to do that, unfortunately. Well, if you'd like for me to say something on your behalf, Tacey, I'd be happy to do that. Every now and then we have these technical challenges with the mic, but I'd be happy to communicate something for you. All right, so back to events on Facebook. I'd say Facebook is my preferred place to host events at this point. Twitter does have some applications that allow you to kind of promote events, but it's definitely a little bit more difficult on Twitter than elsewhere. Okay, but let's see if we can give the Green Drinks event some love. All right, so, and I hate to say it, I am a maybe. I do actually have another commitment that night, so I want to give that my support. I'm going to try to at least pop in for a while. If you don't at least RSVP, I believe, with a maybe, I don't think Facebook lets you invite others to events. So that's another reason why I think it's good for the host or hostess to be the person who's doing the inviting, because they are going to be there. You know, if I'm inviting everybody, then it kind of looks like I'm in charge, or it looks like, you know, hey, I'm definitely going to see Kathy there. And if I'm a maybe, it's just kind of a mixed message. So anyway, Tacey says she wanted to offer a cautionary message on the email embedding that does not completely hide your anonymity. If someone is determined to find it, they can in the elements of the page. That is absolutely true. Yeah, the reason that I was suggesting embedding the email was not for purposes of anonymity. It was just to make it a little bit more of an elegant solution than what we had here. Like she's just got on this Tree Change Dolls, she's got, you know, her email right out there, and my issue with it is more from a functionality standpoint on behalf of the user. For me to actually email her, what I have to do is click this, you know, copy it, go over to my email, you know, hit compose, paste, you know, and it's just like anything that you can do to keep people engaged and do it in fewer clicks. Certainly, it's just kind of a lot easier. So that was my my thing with that. But if I'll just see if I can use my own site for an example. One of my sites. Go to kathysipple.com. I've actually got it, you know, just embedded up here in the header. I don't know if all of you can see that high up. But it's got my email spelled out, so it's clear. It's not like I'm really trying to disguise my email. But what happens instead is if somebody clicks on that, then it opens an email, you know, program. It fills in my email for them. Unfortunately, it's Microsoft, which I don't seem to have control over, and I don't use, you know, Outlook. But you know, at least there's that. So that's not perfect. I could probably, you know, use some fixing up on my own site. Okay, let me just, and this is my husband's computer, so it might be his his settings that have that override. Okay. So anyway, I know we're kind of all over the place a little bit, but good stuff. Yeah, if you are concerned about, the anonymity or getting spam, yes, Charlotte, the envelope option is my email. That's right. Actually, it's the envelope option that's way at the top, along with my social icons, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Google+, and here's the RSS feed like we talked about yesterday. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, though, is this other little bar here, sharing is caring. This is what's called a plugin in WordPress, and this is not designed to do the same thing. Sometimes my clients get confused, like why is there a Facebook icon up here and then you've got a Facebook icon down here? This one, I think sharing is caring, hopefully gives you a clue as to what you're supposed to do with that. If you share, if you click this Facebook, this means that you're going to share it on your Facebook, but you're sharing my content. Okay? So this is more about the user action, and it's, and here I just shared my own thing without any comment, so that might seem a little odd. But certainly, hey, if you want to share the love, you like something, then a blogger is generally really, really happy when you share that kind of stuff, okay? So I put it under each blog post now. And this was really sweet. I actually had a couple people, I think 2 of them possibly on this call, Anne-Marie and Nancy Legner, said, hey, I really like that post that you wrote about the girl with kaleidoscope eyes. It wasn't that easy for me to share, and so that actually prompted me to add the sharing is caring kind of button. So share away, Mom, Nancy, if you would like to. Go right ahead. But this just makes it easy. So somebody could click on, this to tweet this blog post. They could Google+ it. They could pin it to Pinterest. If they want to email it and forward it to a friend, they could do so. And more options even give you, more. So let's just see what some of the options are here. LinkedIn. I don't think anybody would be sharing this on LinkedIn. I mean, there are just so many sites. It's like some of these I've never even used, frankly. Yeah, FARC, never used it. I don't know what that is. Bitly, okay, we talked about that. That's the, here's Flipboard. So Lisa pointed out Flipboard to me. And so this would be kind of a cool thing. If you wanted to put your own stuff on Flipboard, you could, you could do that. So there we go. Absolutely. You could put that Flipboard icon. Oh, yeah, and you might be able to customize the icon here if there were some that you wanted to use, if you knew that your followers were more likely to use Flipboard or you just wanted to encourage that. Sometimes the plugin lets you customize which ones show up. So Hootsuite is right there. We've talked about Hootsuite. Instapaper, I don't know that I've ever used that, but I would imagine that's something like Flipboard or something like paper.li. So there are new things being discovered every day. And because it's impossible to know what all of them are, I'd just like to give you a tool that will help you evaluate whether new things that you hear about are going to be worth it for you, either as a marketer or as an environmentalist or just for your personal interest to care about or know about. Like here's one I have never heard of, ODNO, Klasnicki? Okay, I literally have no clue what that is. So here's what I would do. First of all, you could click on it or just go to that. But there's a site called Quantcast, and Quantcast kind of provides hard data behind websites. And what you can do is type in any new site that you're not familiar with. You want to evaluate whether it's a good fit for you, whether it's going to be something that's of interest. Whoa. I don't even know if it's going to recognize that. Huh. Maybe this is just for some other country. Here we go. I'm going to just copy this guy and put it in here because I really have no clue what this thing is. Looks like it's Russian, possibly. All right. So what I could do is I can ask Quantcast, hey, how does the site rank, in the U.S.? What's their reach? and it's actually bigger than I would have thought. They reach, looks like a little better than 500,000 people, and they're ranked, 3,600 and something, and that's for all websites at all. So that includes every single website that's out there. Google is usually number one. Let's just see, or Facebook. Yeah, Google is number one right now. YouTube did eclipse Google at least one point in the past. So I usually know, the top 2, 3, and here we go. Here's YouTube is number 2. I bet you Facebook might be number 3. So if you only have a limited time to be out there, yep, Facebook is number 3. It is trending a little bit downward. Twitter, I bet, is in probably the top 20 or so. But, they all sound a little stupid when you first hear about it. Okay, Twitter's actually in the top 6. So, those tend to be the ones that I keep an eye on, and it doesn't mean that they're always going to be there, because all of these things were pretty new in the not too distant past, okay? So this is just a good place for you to evaluate something new, to know, is this something I really need to pay attention to? Or if somebody insists to you, some social media guru says, oh, it's the next big thing. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Something like We the Trees let's see, is it .com or .org? We talked about this the other day with crowdfunding. Might be .org. We the Trees. Okay, that one's probably not going to be a huge, highly ranked. Let me just see if I can find it separately. We the Trees. Maybe it's not even ranked by Comcast or Quantcast. Okay. It doesn't mean that it's not worth doing. It's just it gives you a relative measure. Okay. But if it does exactly what you want it to do, because they're your people, and your people you feel are really going to hang out there, yeah, it's not even found on Quantcast. Okay. But I had a client who got their project funded by putting up a page on the site. So you can't rely on it completely exclusively to say, hey, things are only worth doing if they're on Quantcast. But I think it can give you an idea for relative reach, relative popularity, and without just having to go chasing every, shiny new object. Something like Flipboard, I'm really curious about that, because there are so many different URLs that are generated. Flipboard, let's try that. But I would imagine they all kind of go through their main portal. So they reach a little better than 1 million people, and they're ranked, like close to 3,000. So, again, these are kind of random tools I'm throwing out there at you, but they're things that I kind of find valuable over the course of doing what I do. So, anything that you want to review, anything that you want to comment on about what we've learned, something that you're still dying to learn that you thought I should have covered by this time and we didn't. We've got about 12 more minutes left, and I just love to use them the way that you would like them used. I took some little notes at the beginning, and we talked about how to get people from one area of interest to kind of cross over and get them interested in other areas. Let's see, just working with people that are kind of primarily interested in capitalism and getting them introduced to to green. That's a really big big idea, but I think I've been guided just to, and I still haven't developed this graphic, but I think almost looking at Venn diagram, and I think probably you know what I mean when I say Venn diagrams, but mapping out, and it might seem silly to map it out, but mapping out like, hey, here's what I, Kathy, am really interested in. I've got permaculture, I've got composting, I've got crowdsourcing, I've got whatever. Here's Charlotte over here, and I would say she's probably kind of interested in permaculture, sustainable agriculture. Maybe some things that I don't know anything about, okay? And then we've got Lisa down here, and she's a chef that works with
local and forage food. So, I'd say we could find our sweet spot here in the middle pretty quickly, and it would probably be around sustainable, food, agriculture, that kind of thing. And there's probably a lot more. But, sometimes when we're working with people, they don't have our same commonalities quite as easily identifiable. But I would say, wherever you can, try to kind of map out that relationship conversation and just think in your mind. I mean, obviously you don't have to absolutely draw it out, but sometimes I do. Sometimes, if I'm on a phone call and we've got, I'd say this particularly is useful when you've got 3 or more people to kind of keep straight who said they were interested. I'll jot down notes and I'll be like, they've got kids, they've got pets, they're, interested in health or whatever. And then, I just kind of look for, where could this project go? Where could we build consensus? Where is there, one point of interest where we could start to develop, communication around? So I hope that's not too juvenile or basic sounding, but I continue to go back to this Venn diagram, and I think it's like when we insist on remaining on the outskirts of, our point of view or our interest with the people that are in our tribe, it takes a pretty charismatic leader to get people all the way from here, or possibly here or here, all the way over to here, right? So I'd say, a more successful strategy would be to start here and then nudge, like keep kind of going to the edge of what you've got in common. And as people are educated, as you have them gain awareness about your topic, then, you can move them forward a little bit. Or, conversely, you can just go jump in a different pool, right? We've talked about a number of ways that you can do that. So if you're kind of tired of trying to change your own tribe to get them more interested, if they're people who, had cancer and you want to talk to them about natural health, or you're trying to, kind of get into the American Cancer Society and get them institutionally to care about natural health, I'd say, you kind of have to start with your core and build out, right? Or if, it really works for almost any project that I've been able to work on. And I see this not as just some kind of math problem back from 2nd grade, but almost like a mandala, like in Buddhism, I believe they make the mandala, and it becomes almost an art form to know, how can I overlay this onto thoughts, onto conversations, onto relationships, and how can I just be really intentional about, inviting people to the circle and, kind of being in charge of this conversation, guiding it where I want to go. But also dropping into a fully formed, already existing group can be pretty energizing. And so on LinkedIn, again, I hope people have joined some groups. I'd love to hear, just, have you done anything because of this week's work, and has anything cool happened? I would love to know what you're using. Okay, here's something today that looks interesting. Here's a new notification. I invite you to join Green Knight International Business Network. I don't know what that is, and I think I'm probably out of groups at this point. But yeah, this drives me a little batty that within LinkedIn you can't actually click a URL. You've got to copy and paste. But let me just see what this is about. This is kind of, attraction marketing, right? Because I've been talking about green, I'm hoping that this is what their group is about. This group is set up so that businesses who desire to be green can network with those who already are. We like to see discussion on green practices, green offerings, and green ideas in general. In the process, we hope that members find peers. Okay, so that's nice. There's 2,600 people there, and they asked me to their circle, so that's pretty cool. That's neat. So let me just see here. Okay. Nancy Legner, I think I'm going to answer your question separately just because I feel like it's a little outside of environment, but I'd be happy to answer that for you offline. Lisa Harris says, I've worked on getting my message streamlined across LinkedIn, Twitter, and my new website blog. Thanks for the encouragement and new tools to explore. Hey, happy to have offered them. And then Charlotte says, how do you control all the solicitations that result from greater presence on these platforms. Delete button works pretty well. Yeah, I mean, like I said the other day, I think in our private coaching session, Charlotte, I have 389 invitations to connect on LinkedIn, and you can't really stop people from inviting you. I mean, you could block them, actually. I did quickly talk about that just in case people don't know how to do this. If I don't recognize the person's name and they haven't taken the time to, craft a welcome message or explain to me why they think we should be connected on LinkedIn, I don't necessarily accept. I mean, you can see I've got almost 400 that I've not accepted. Sometimes I do end up meeting these people sooner or later, so maybe they knew about me before I knew about them. If I block them, if I hit this X button, then I'm ignoring the invitation, and they actually won't be able to initiate a link with me on LinkedIn again. They're going to be kind of permanently silenced. So I can only link with them if I reinitiate that connection. So I use the X pretty sparingly. I mean, this person doesn't even have a professional headline. I'm like, really? Okay, you're inviting me to connect with you. I don't know who you are. You don't have a professional headline. You can see how just being focused yourself is going to make this, make a lot more sense. He's got 180 connections. Sometimes if we have mutual connections and they're somebody that I know and really, trust or think highly of, then maybe I would do it anyway. I see that this person looks like they're in food industry, worked for Nabisco, they're, on disability. So I actually do have kind of an interest in trying to develop more programs for people that are on disability. So you know what, I have no idea what that person wants from me. I would have rather seen something a little bit more forthcoming or proactive. But, if it's a competitor, I'm probably not going to connect. Now this person's with a chamber in the area. And chambers hire me a lot of times to be their speaker, so even though I don't know her, I'm going to go for it and say, let's go ahead. We've got a lot of different mutual connections. I think maybe I did meet her at an event last fall. Okay, so Roseanne says that her rank for profile views has increased by 63%. That's wonderful. Is that on LinkedIn, Roseanne? I'm curious about that. That would be cool. But that's a great outcome from this week's work. And then Roseanne also says that she has increased traffic to her LinkedIn page and started expanding her Pinterest. She started a blog post on WordPress. Great. Lisa says she would like to know more about safe social media-ing. People who are inappropriate seem to love attaching on Twitter. Yeah, I got to say there do seem to be some trolls on Twitter. It's kind of annoying. Let's see if I can address that quickly. Okay, I mean, this person does not seem inappropriate necessarily, but you basically, if you are getting people that you don't want to be attached to, you can just click block or report. And if they've said something inappropriate, to you specifically, then if you click block or report, I think you're going to be prompted to specify what it is that you're reporting. But if you just never want to see them in your stream and you don't want them to see you, you can do that. So that's quick little primer on that one. And Charlotte says, doesn't the platform automatically start inviting people so it isn't actually the person doing the inviting? I'm not sure if we're talking about LinkedIn here or if we're talking about which one. There are invitations, and then there are people that you may know, and those are actually different. So the people that you may know, let me just kind of go back here. If I click on this and I do see all, invitations are just that. They're invitations. So when it says pending invitations, it's pretty small, but a pending invitation means these people are waiting for my response, so they have initiated something. And then down here, these are people you may know, and yes, LinkedIn has just generated this list of people I may know based on the fact that we've got X number of mutual connections. So this shows the number of mutual connections. This one we've got 10. This one we've got 212 connections in common. Charlotte Reed, I do know her. We don't have any mutual connections, at least on LinkedIn, so I don't know how they figured that out. But yeah, you are right, Charlotte. Sometimes the platform does help generate those suggestions. And then Lisa asks, sometimes if I don't know an invite from LinkedIn, I'll send a message asking how I know them. They usually don't respond, but I have asked to connect with a few people by accident. Yeah, that can happen too. Charlotte Reed, I should accept. Yeah, I know she does a lot of great work in environment. And she actually hasn't initiated an invite. This is just people I may know. And I'm thinking she actually may not. I might be on the other end of the foot or the other end of the shoe or sock or whatever, whatever that metaphor is. If I were to message her, she might not recognize my name. So, I'd probably do that a little bit more intentionally. All right, and okay, Nancy Moldenauer says, overwhelmed by work week due to continued state-mandated testing. Looking forward to some time this weekend to play with your suggestions. Great. Okay, and so that's the good thing about the video is you can play them anytime and you can make those changes. They don't all have to be done, this week. I just ask that, you do it since we've put forth this energy in identifying it. There are just a number of great things that you can do and make happen. So I hope you'll consider joining me next week for, social media review. If you want your site or your social media to be considered for one of the particular days, please give me a lineup. Charlotte's already stepped up and volunteered her site for Monday, and Tacey wants to look at her LinkedIn profile for Thursday, so it's a great start. Could use some Twitter, Facebook, other things like that. So thank you all for being part of it, and I hope to see you back here next week. I've got to skedaddle and go to Co-Thrive group coaching, so if that's something you're interested in, hit me up and I'll tell you how you can join us. So Charlotte, if you're planning to be there, give me just a minute to switch over to that other account, and thanks again.